So this is my attempt at making an EWGF guide for Kazuya, Deviljin and Jin. In this video I'm going to be covering all the controllers, including D-pad, analog stick, arcade stick, hitbox and WASD, how to do them and different ways to do them. Obviously we're going to go through for the basics, because this is from beginners to people who are just struggling generically with EWGF. So before even knowing how to do an EWGF, I'm going to explain what it is. So for Kazuya and Deviljin, it's pretty much an uppercut, or for Jin it's a hook. So if you see here, if I do it, you see that Kazuya did an uppercut while Jin did some sort of hook. Obviously EWGF stands for electric wind fist or hook fist, and is heavily used for combo starters, good damage, and often chained together for high tier damage. The input for EWGF is FND DF plus 2, but to a newer player that looks like absolute gibberish. So to explain it absolutely in detail, D is down, U is up, B is back, F is forward. Mix them up like DB is for down back or UF for up forward, and the input happens between the two letters. So down back is going to be like down back, up forward, UF is going to be up forwards. As you can see, it's jumping forwards. The notation, so like 1, 2, 3 and 4 on PlayStation to Xbox, I've got an Xbox controller, to in-game notation respectively. 1 is square or X, 2 is triangle or Y, 3 is X or A on an Xbox controller, and 4 is circle or B. Now if you have something like 1 plus 2 or 1 plus 3, for example, say you have your square and triangle assigned to your L2. For some reason I normally have it assigned to L1, but it's messed up on my controller. That just means pressing both at the same time. The star, so you may see a star in the FNDDF input when it's in arrows, or the actual N within itself literally stands for neutral. So at the moment, as you can see, I'm not moving at all. That is the neutral input. I am not doing anything with my characters in neutral, but we'll talk about that another time. So if you see me do it here, you'll see that there's no sparks like this. So the reason why there's no sparks is because of the plus. The plus basically means to do them at the same frame. So 1 plus 2 would be basically mean press square and triangle at the exact same time, or as I've assigned it to L2. But when it comes to a move and input at a move input and a damage attack input at the same time, you have to press them at frame perfect timing. So if you do it at the wrong time, if you see over in the top left corner, you'll see that the down forward arrow and the triangle button haven't been pressed at exactly the same time. This basically means that they haven't been put at the same frame. They haven't been inputted at the same frame. To get the spark, obviously you need to make sure that they're exactly the same time, and obviously it requires some practice. I'm in an arcade stick, so I'm not much good at D-pad. But you can see that now in the top left corner, the down forward arrow and the triangle button are pressed at exactly the same time. That starts the electric kind of version. This is known without the E, so an EWGF would be with the sparks, and a WGF is without sparks, or WHF for Jin. Obviously the difference is that there's no E, removing the electric concept. The main difference is the loss in electricity. However, it has other disadvantages. For example, EWGF gives plus frames, meaning it's got pushback. So if you see, he's actually pushed back Jin by doing an EWGF, whereas a WGF doesn't push back at all. Like, he's just stood there. WGF is not safe on block, meaning it can be punished if you do WGF and not EWGF. Also, EWGF does 23 damage while WGF only does 20. Well, that's obvious for demonstration. EWGF has more recovery time too, so if you do 2 EWGFs, you can see that there's more consistency. But if you do a WGF and an EWGF at the same time, you can see that Kazuya didn't actually do another EWGF. It's inconsistent when you do only a WGF. You'll also see a difference in sound too. I have got a mod on for Kazuya, meaning he makes a meme sound, but normally for Jin and Deviljin, they both make some sort of D sound on electric. Otherwise Deviljin makes some sort of 2 sound, Jin makes a C sound, and Kazuya, he makes, that's my script on my paper one gone. Kazuya, his non-electric sounds like a who while his electric is, you know, the legendary Doria. That doesn't mean you should stop WGFing though. WGF it's alright in certain circumstances. Like for players just getting started, obviously it's not going to be easy at all. When I started, I was using a joystick, and that's not an easy input. So WGF, obviously if you're a fresh beginner, WGF is the perfect place to start. And also for people who spam highs, so if I get, so obviously WGF also whiffs certain highs because you are in the crouch dash, and in crouch dash you're basically whiffing highs. And if you manage to dodge them in time and then put the WGF out, you've got the hit basically. If I can just set this guy to start blocking, you'll see that so I've set Jin to do 2 highs. See how I've dodged his 2 highs and it's come out as a punish. So obviously there's different ways, so you can duck it and dodge, or you can turn it into some sort of WGF, which if you've practiced it, you can chain into a combo. Simple. So obviously WGF has its uses sometimes. It's not highly used because normally EWGF is some sort of like quick dodge to punish. So obviously the enemy, you dodge the enemy or sidestep or something and punish with the EWGF. Things to be aware of when EWGFing, however, is that EWGF is a high. So say for example my enemy is crouching, EWGF is not connecting at all. Obviously Kazuya doesn't instantly recover from an EWGF, so Jin can actually punish with a wall standing 2. Any character can punish with a wall standing 2 as long as you're crouching, even big characters. This also does mean though for semi-advanced players that while wave dashing, obviously because in wave dashing you're going to want to hit a mid or a low to confuse the enemy, and if you hit an EWGF, whether the enemy is crouching or not, you're not going to hit him at all. Obviously the best option here is to either do a health sweep, which might get blocked, or FF2, which is perfect for the crouching opponents. Obviously each character has different things. You can do a while standing 2 from wave dash. I can't do that, but whatever you can do from there. While standing 2 obviously is better, the option, but for the less experienced, FF2 again, we'll talk about that another time. Put Jin back on stunning block. Well, actually no, put him back on mimic. There are a few types of EWGF. All except one are just EWGFs in certain circumstances. We have the normal EWGF, DEWGF, WEWGF, and pEWGF. Normal EWGF is just a simple FNDDF plus 2. DEWGF stands for dash electric, so DEWGF dash EWGF, which basically looks like that. You can see that they're both kind of dash forwards into an EWGF. I can't do it properly. Let's see. Yep, so they've dashed into an EWGF. You can see that I've done FF and DDF. So that's basically dashed into an EWGF. Then we have a WEWGF, which basically stands for Wave EWGF, which is going from EWGF from wave dash. I did say it's not useful for wave dash, but if the enemy does try and punish your wave dash, which a lot of people will, you can just EWGF in time and get that punish. It's mass damage as well, especially on counter hit. So obviously you're going to be wave dashing, and then there you go. That's a WEWGF, that's a wave EWGF. Obviously so use not a lot, only when you know the enemy is going to try and punish your wave dash. And then we have a pEWGF, which only belongs to certain characters. That will be explained towards the end of the video, so don't bother about it right now. In addition to this, FNDDF inputs are commonly referred to as CD, so EWGF may be referred to as CD2. Also, Jin has the ability to enter breaking step, or it's the same as wind step, which is this basically, that kind of stance. Breaking step through a few moves, or Kazuya has the ability to enter his wind step after a few moves, but that will be explained later on. Before anything, players who say FNDF plus 2, which is that, so FNDF plus 2, is better and more consistent for Kazuya mains. Really quickly and simply, this is a pEWGF input, something deviljin and Jin do not have and will not work with them. More on that later. We're doing the FNDDF way for consistency and for the deviljin users. Now that we've pretty much covered EWGF, time to get into the hand cams, like how to do EWGF on each controller, step by step, and with the advantages and disadvantages. We'll see about it. So we'll start with the D-pad EWGF. We'll explain what it looks like, the positions of the hands in the F, D, and DF position, going from F to neutral, then down, rolling from down to down forwards +2, understanding it, the advantages of using a D-pad and the disadvantages of using a D-pad. This is going to be the same for D-pad, analog, arcade stick, hitbox, and WASD. If you have other controllers, I'll just do them in a separate video. So to input the EWGF on D-pad, following the FNDGF +2 notation, press the forwards arrow, then let go, so Kazuya enter neutral, then press the down arrow. And roll your thumb into down forwards and press 2 at the same time, so like that, but make sure you press them both at the same time. Obviously you can see that it connected. Going from forward to neutral to down within itself, it's just like pressing 2 buttons. So you're literally just pressing forward, down, because between the times of pressing forwards and down, there's nothing pressed. That basically ensures the neutral input, the star, and ensures that it's there in part. So if you see, just forward, down, forward, down, forward, down, you can see in the top left corner that there's a neutral between every time I press forward and down, because I'm basically pressing 2 buttons. I know sometimes it's going into down forwards, but that's a bit of a messed up D-pad. A lot of D-pads have this issue, which is we'll dive into it in the disadvantages of this. So going from down to down forward is simple, just roll, so kind of like that. But I know a lot of people like to slide, so slide your thumb towards the forward arrow until you hit the down forward input. Obviously you can see that you only need to do it slightly. You can see that just that much. I don't even need to go there. Just that much is enough for down forwards, and you just need to practice getting into the down forwards, and then see where you get into down forwards and press 2 at the same time. So you can see there I've gone to down forwards and press 2 at the same time. Mix that up with F and then go like that. So FN, remember the 2 buttons, and then from N roll forwards. So it's going to look like that. You can see that they've entered the win step, and then after that, as soon as you know they're going to enter the win step, press 2 at the same time. So there you go. You've hit the EWGF or EWHF, depending on who you main. Now sometimes, especially if you're new to this, you're going to see that he hasn't done any sort of electric. There's only the normal punch. There's no electric. There's no sparks and nothing. The only reasons for that would be you're not pressing 2 at the right time. There's no other reason. Like, you might think, oh, my controller's messed, or this or that, or there's special circumstances. It's simply because you're not pressing 2 at the right time, or the 2's not being input at the right time. I know some controllers do have latency because, I don't know, there's certain controllers with certain issues, but the 2 and the down forward inputs are not happening at the same time. You press it too early, you should get some sort of down punch there, like that. So you're going to get some sort of down punch, which is obviously not EWGF. You press it too late, and you're not going to get the electric version. The only way to get this consistency is only through practice. I'm going to mention it a lot. Practice has to be done. You can't master EWGF without practice. You can't master anything without practice. You can't master any combos without practice. You can't just hop into a ranked match and hope to hit, I don't know, Kazuya's counter hit pEWGF randomly. You have to practice. Now, to the advantages and disadvantages of using a D-pad. So obviously, quick recap: forward, down, like pressing 2 buttons. Then from down to down forwards, quick roll. So like that. Yeah. 2 buttons, quick roll. Press triangle at the same time. Perfect. That's your EWGF. I'd say the advantages and disadvantages of this using a D-pad is, so the advantages I'd say is the easy ability to input neutral, because you're only using your thumb. Pressing F to pressing D will always require you to lift your thumb off the D-pad. Now I know some people play like that. I don't know how you do that. I genuinely don't know how you do that. It's a pain for me. Obviously always requires you to lift your thumb off the D-pad, which is basically simple and different to basically every other method. where you either need to direct the joystick into neutral on an arcade stick, or use 2 fingers to go from F to D, potentially getting misinput of FDFD instead of FND. In theory, FDDF plus 2 does do EWGF, but for a newer player, hitting the down forward 2 is hard, and going FDDF plus 2 just does a crouching punch. More on that on the pEWGF section on Kazuya's later in the video. The disadvantages of using a D-pad, I'd say, is rolling from D to DF. These D-pads are very sensitive, unless you're using an Xbox controller, in which obviously you got the clicks, so you can hear that click to click. There's 3 clicks, so on the 3rd click you press triangle, but I would not recommend using this D-pad because it's wonky, very wonky. So sticking with this, the down forward input you can see is very sensitive. Like, I'm nowhere near pressing the forward arrow, but it's still putting in the down forwards. You can see Kazuya and Jin walking towards each other, crouching. Looks sick, but it's sensitive, so there's going to be much more inconsistency with hitting the down forward too, and obviously it's going to be a bit of an issue when it comes to timing, because you're not doing that. You can see that when I try to go into the full down forwards, there's no electric coming out. You have to time it correctly, master kind of your controller. This is just with practice. You have to practice with your own D-pad. You practice correctly and you get the input out. You have to know where your D-pad is, because you gotta just adjust. You gotta adjust to where your down forward is on the D-pad. If you can't do that, if you can't adjust to it, you have to go into the practice room and practice. Obviously, remember, practice makes everything, because if you don't practice, you're finished. You're not going to do an EWGF in a real match. The same applies for player 2 side. So if I can somehow get... Okay, there. So the same kind of applies for player 2 side. So obviously pretend you're looking at Kazuya, forget Jin. So just FN, 2 buttons into the rolling kind of thing. So you're rolling into from down to down forwards plus 2. It's the same kind of concept. I don't need to really run through it fully, as long as you understand the player 1 side. Just make sure you understand where the down forward kind of hits. Obviously here you can see I'm needing a bit more force, because these D-pads are sensitive and a bit weird. I think the PS5 is a bit better, because the buttons are a bit more like rigid, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't have a PS5 controller. But practice. That was nice. You just gotta practice, make sure you got your things on. If you're using a D-pad, I'd recommend staying on player 1 side, solely because player 1 side is like the default. But if you are playing on player 2 side, well, there you go, that's how you do it. Just press, let go, press the 2 buttons, then roll to down forwards and press 2 at exactly the same time. Make sure you practice. That's how it goes. Okay, moving on, we have the analog joystick for the generic PlayStation, and obviously on Xbox controller there's its own joystick, but we'll stick with the PS4 controller. Input the EWGF on the analog following the down FNDDF notation. Move the joystick forwards with a force of some sort, then let go, but keep your thumb on the joystick. This maintains the control you have over the actual joystick. So forwards with the force, then release the force, but keep your thumb on the joystick. Oh my god, the lighting in my room is not the best for seeing where I'm pressing triangle, because obviously you can see that looks invisible now. So you got the F, then to N. So once you let the joystick go back to the middle with your thumb, go down. But don't go fully down when you're doing EWGF. You can go 3/4 of the way, and you can see they're already in the crouching. I'm not fully down, that's fully down. I've almost gone fully down. The down input's still happening, as you can see in the top left. So from there you can kind of roll into a down forwards, so like that. So forward, let go with the thumb, down almost, and then down forwards. So you can see that he's not fully going down, but it looks more like a C shape when inputting. The tip of the C being like the F, curving it into neutral and pushing it down, but not all the way down, curving it back into forwards and down. Some players, especially Street Fighter players, they'll not identify this as C, but like a Z, aiming to pass through neutral for the Z. So starting from neutral, and the first move of the Z being from left to right, so that's forward. Then the diagonal of the Z going through neutral to down, and then the bottom part of the Z pushing forwards. The issue with the Z concept is that Shoryuken in Street Fighter doesn't essentially need a neutral. If you play a Street Fighter game, for example, and you pull off, I don't know, if Ryu, whoever you main, I don't know, if Oni Akuma, I don't know if Oni's in Tekken 6, in Street Fighter 6, or, you know, Goken, whoever, if you try and do Shoryuken, you can actually do quarter circle twice, so like that, and that will actually give you EWGF, that'll actually give you Shoryuken doing this. If you spam this and just press triangle, that's going to give you your Shoryuken in Street Fighter. But obviously, as you can see, I've done it about 6 times now. In Tekken 8 or Tekken 7 or whatever Tekken, that does not work because EWGF needs your neutral. Shoryuken doesn't really care about neutral. Quarter circle forwards twice will hit a Shoryuken, but won't hit an EWGF. So quick run through again, quick recap. Forwards, maintain control. Down almost to down forwards, so like that. Kind of imagine it like a C, yeah? Imagine it like a C. Because if you picture the movement and the notation, you're gonna understand it better. Because you have to understand it in a way that you understand it. If you understand it with the way the teacher teaches it, you're not gonna get well on it. So again, with the idea of the C, obviously, as soon as it hits down forwards, you want to press triangle. So, as soon as we hit down forwards, obviously, because you're not fully tapping, once you move down forwards, you're going to want to hit down forwards. That sounds very wrong. As soon as you hit down forwards, you want to hear that tap on the controller. You don't want to get this. You want to get the first tap, neutral down, then the second tap once you hit the side of the controller. So from there, as soon as you get that tap in, you press triangle. So like that. I'd say the advantage of this controller is that with consistency, first analog players, I don't know how you do it, because you'll see that almost everyone wants to start off on analog and then they switch to D-pad or they switch to a different controller. I don't know how analog players play consistently because it kills my thumb, it kills my whole hand. I can't do it. I don't know. Appreciate you people for playing because I don't know how you do it. But the main advantage, in my opinion, is that when mastered, it has a speed advantage kind of, because other input controllers, D-pad, arcade stick, whatever, you need to ensure that down is fully pressed. While the joystick, the analog joystick, can get from neutral into down forwards in more of a continuous progression. So you can kind of just curve it in. With other controllers, you need to make sure it's down, then down forwards. With this, you can just kind of curve in. But the main disadvantage, I'd say, is obviously one is the control, and two is that if you're going at these kind of like next level speeds, the F to N to D will be hard to successfully do flawlessly. You might catch yourself not letting the go of the joystick to go into neutral enough. As you can see, there's no neutral in the way I'm doing it, and obviously that does give pEWGF sometimes, but it's inconsistent because if you try go too fast, you can see that you might get a down forward input instead. Sorry, I have my L3 assigned to heat. You can see that I've gone from forward to down forwards to down. This is inconsistent and obviously is really annoying once you get it in game. What I'd say for practicing is obviously practice. Get yourself in a practice room and set the enemy to block and just practice. Obviously I ain't good with analog, so I can't really say much. But I know a guy who's next level at it. I simply can't. I don't know how he does it. The same applies for player 2 side, so let me try. So literally same thing: forward, neutral, almost, then tap. Off reset. So yeah, the concept stays the same: forward to neutral to down, almost to down forwards. Yeah, on that tap, press triangle. And that gives you your electric on analog. So quick recap before I continue on to my bigger controller and the WASD. With D-pad, F, N, D, so forward to neutral to down. Obviously pressing forward to down, that's 2 buttons. Pretend it's 2 button presses, you're just pressing 2 buttons. Yeah. Neutral is going to happen between the 2 pressings, and from down just roll a bit into down forwards, and you'll hit your EWGF. Same applies for player 2 side. With analog, forward, let go, bring it almost down, and then right down forwards. On that tap, press triangle, so you'll get the electric. I hope that helps for your D-pad and analog. And now we're going to move on to the next controllers, which I'm actually good at, so be prepared for better speaking and better everything. So, moving on, we are now going to try my main controller. I have my bat top on. I'm going to use my ball top only because most players on an arcade stick are going to be using ball top. So, just for consistency and for the people who are using a generic arcade stick without any modifications, let's apply my ball top. Obviously I have an extension because the wood is a bit thick, so it covers up half my joystick anyways. This came today, which is a nice coincidence and another nice sign. Before you ask which controller this is custom made. It's got 4 buttons for no, it's not connected. It's got 4 buttons for movement, so we have the F, back, down, up, and then we also have this joystick for movement. It works alongside. They both register as an analog. Then we have the normal buttons, my start, my select, or this is jump, yeah, L3, R3, then 4 other command buttons at the back. These are not in-game commands, so I can't do pEWGF or macro like this. These are just something like mode or clear or something silly like that. But we're going to start off with the actual analog. We're going to start off with the actual joystick. We're going to stick with ball top solely because not many people are going to be using a bat top, but the concept remains the same. Player 1 and player 2, they have, so if you're standing on this side compared to if you're standing on the other side, they're different solely because obviously to do the EWGF, you're going to need to use something else. You're not only using your thumb like with the PS4 controller. You're only using your thumb to move this, or for this you're only moving your thumb. With this you're moving your whole hand. You're not only using your thumb. So there's different methods of kind of holding the stick. This is personal preference. It doesn't really matter. So some people might choose to kind of hold their controller like that and play. And obviously that's all personal preference. I sometimes play like this. On a bat top I purely play with claw though, like this. And obviously again that's personal preference. On bat top I prefer to do this. On ball top I prefer to do this. On bat top I prefer to play with the claw. Some people might even try to play like this, and again that's personal preference. I can't much do that. If you're playing like this, I don't know what's wrong with you, unless you really like your fingertip movements. What I'd say is inconsistent with this is that I can't really backdash the best with this, but in claw I can do it much better. But I'll stay claw just in case, because a lot of people are going to be playing with claw. They're not going to be using this unless you've got barely any space like my previous controller. But anyways, back to EWGF. We're not going to talk about Korean backdashes, forget that. So when doing an EWGF on this, you want to make sure, basically, this keeps getting loose. I don't know why it gets loose. You want to make sure that you have your hand in your position, make sure it's rested, perfect. Move it forwards. You want to move it forwards by just rotating your wrist kinda, or rotating your forearm, so that you get the forward without having to move your whole hand. If you move your whole hand, it gets inconsistent. You just want to move your wrist or your forearm, get that forward input. Now, let go, literally just let go, till it gets back into neutral. Yep, so forward, N, and from there, you don't want to use your wrist to kind of pull it down, because not only is that going to just slip off, you don't want to move your arm back either, because that's painful, that's annoying. Just use your fingertips like that, just push it down. So forward, by moving your wrist, then let go and bring it down. That's your forward, let go, down. That's your forward, neutral, down input. Now from there, from down, now you want to rotate your wrist like we did with forwards while keeping it held down, and that gives you your down forward input. That gives you your down forward input. From there, rotate, down forwards. Perfect. Now, mix it up. Forward, let go, down, down forwards. Do it slowly. You'll see that on forwards, I'm using my fingertips and rotating my arm, rotating my wrist, rotating my forearm, whichever one you want to use, personal preference, when moving to forwards. And same with back. With back, you want to use your thumb moving backwards. We'll talk about that in a sec. But obviously, with this, is that as soon as you get to down forwards, you want to press triangle. My triangle is assigned here. So, simple, just forward, let go, down, rotate wrist to forwards, and press triangle at exactly the same time. With the arcade stick, I'd say it's kind of when you feel like it's right. But again, everything's personal preference. You gotta do it the way you want to do it, because if you adapt to somebody else, it never works. It's like when playing a mobile game, a mobile FPS game, for example. If you adjust to somebody else's sensitivity, you're not going to do well. You have to find your own way, your own methods, your own kind of feeling. You have to understand your controller by yourself. You try and copy somebody else, it might help, it should help, but don't copy them exactly, because remember, it's your thumbs. Your thumbs might be twice as big as mine. Your thumb might be half my size. I don't know who's watching, I don't know what's going on, but you have to adjust with it perfectly. I can only give you so much as to tips and how to do it, and tips and tricks and what kind of hand movement you need or placement. But when it comes to personal preference, it's all personal. I can't give you advice. You have to find that out yourself. Practice room, practice makes perfect. So simply make sure you keep practicing your wrist movement to down, wrist down, fingertip. Yeah. Once you clock this, your down forward should be no problem, because you already clocked your rotating wrist to your right, so it's just going to be a simple mix up. And there you go. That's your EWGF kind of for this side. Just make sure forward, let go, down, down forwards. Now, play two side. Let me just try and remember this. So every time I can just there. So what to do from here is, because you're not necessarily using your wrist anymore to go forwards, to go backwards you are using a wrist, but you're not using your main like claw hand. You're using your thumb to go backwards, to go forwards even. So use your thumb to go forwards, and then same as previously, use your fingertips to go down. But instead of using your thumb like that to go back to down forwards, you want to kind of rotate your wrist to the left, because you've already got control. You don't need your thumb to pull it back. You don't want to do this to go forwards, because that's inconsistent. You might get down forwards. But when you're down here, you've already got control with your fingers, and then you can pull it down forwards. So forward with the thumb, let go, bring it down with the fingertips and pull it. That should give you your, oh my god, I'm on the wrong side. That should give you your FNDDF input. And then again, when you feel it's right, when you got that click, when you into the down forward position, you press triangle at the same time. Obviously I'm not good at play two side, I need to practice that. Okay, that's play one and play two side done for the arcade stick. Quick run through. Forward, down, down forwards. Wrist, fingers to both. Get two at the right time. That's your EWGF sorted. Okay, and for the other side, remember, use your thumb, let go, bring it down with your fingertips, pull it to down forwards. That's your F and DDF, and then press triangle at the right time. Your electric should come out. Now, I'd say the advantages for using a joystick is that the script, obviously my script says that I should have explained it before, but whatever, is that you've got the clicks, you can hear the clicks. You know, as soon as that click happens, you moved into a different direction. On that click, using sound, you can use your sound cues if you want. I forgot to say. You can kind of use it as a sound cue. Once you're down forwards, hit triangle. It should help. It might help. I don't know. For some people, it's about memorization. Once you get used to it, you get used to it. But for sound cues, it's quite nice, especially if you're mistaking for WGF, or you're not hitting your down forward too properly. I'd say the disadvantage for this, similar to the analog, is that there's no defined input for each movement, like F, D, back, or U. So there's no defined kind of like button for. So for example, with this, you know, this is down, this is forward, this is back. But for this, if you move forwards and you've kind of moved it at the wrong angle, I'm going down forwards. I might think that this is forwards, but I'm actually moving down forwards. That kind of inconsistency happens with the analog as well, because obviously you might be thinking you're moving forwards, but actually you're moving down forwards. Whereas with D-pad, that's directly down, that's directly forwards. You can't make a mistake unless you've simply just not gotten used to your D-pad. Okay, now, with the next part of this, the hitbox and the WASD are pretty much the same. I'm not going to run through it twice, partially because it's literally exactly the same. Obviously the up movement is something else. We don't really need to worry about that. It's just these three buttons we need to focus on, and obviously your 2 input. It's the same. I'll do a quick run through on the WASD, but you won't see much of a difference even if I re-explain it. So the hitbox goes as forward, down, backwards. Index finger on forwards, middle finger down, ring finger on back. Yeah, no, even if you're on player 2 side, that's how you need to go. Your thumb on the jump. You can't play like this because that's inconsistent. It's annoying. This is, I don't know how you're gonna play with your pinky, because I don't know. So obviously your thumb's not gonna be used. So simply, because this is just a bunch of buttons, forward, let go. Yeah, just practice pressing 2 buttons, forward, down, forward, down, forward, down, forward, down. And from down, practice doing this. That gives you your down to down forwards, yeah? Forward, down, forward, down, forward, down to down forwards. I'd say it's the easiest to get used to for wave dashing, because it literally took me a day to get used to it. I'm wave dashing consistently on this. Almost consistently. But now, again, another advantage with the hitbox is that when pressing down forwards, because you know when you're pressing it, you kind of get the feel like your hands are in sync. You can just press them at the same time. So being able to press them in sync is basically what differs a WGF from an eWGF, which is perfect. So keep practicing. Obviously, practice makes perfect. Obviously, I didn't get it on it as soon as I made this. I didn't get it. I had to practice for a bit. So, button, let go, button, button. That's pretty much I can say. Forward, let go, down, 2 buttons. And then roll, not roll, D-pads roll, or joysticks roll. Press both, so down, down, forwards.
and then practice after forward down, just hit that roll. And then as soon as you know your index has hit the forward the second time, you press 2 at the same time. So, and pEWGF should come out. With player 2 side, let me see if I could get, there you go. Record the status. With player 2 side, it's kind of a similar concept, other that you're not using your index, you're using your ring finger to go forwards. So it looks like that. I am very slow with this because my ring finger is not strong at all. But I can't backdash either. It's the same concept. Once you forward, just practice pressing 2 buttons and then roll. And then as soon as you know your ring fingers hit that, you hit triangle at the same time, you hit 2 at the same time, and you're gonna hit pEWGF. That's how it goes. Crap. It's consistency, practice. I clearly haven't practiced playing player 2 on any controller, and you can see I'm inconsistent with it. If you practice, you're perfect. Top tier players, they can play on player 1 and player 2 side because they've practiced all their lives. I haven't practiced at all, and obviously I'm doing inconsistently. Practice makes perfect. There's nothing more I can say. With WASD, it's pretty much the same. Ring finger on A, middle finger on S, index finger on D, and from there just F and D. You're pressing 2 buttons. So, and then down forwards, and then from there you press 2 at the same time. Obviously I've got one hand recording, so let me try and do something silly. Can't do it. Okay. There you go, and two. This 2. This 2. Okay. This is 2. Okay. So, finally, just make sure you're hitting your D and your 2 at exactly the same time. Obviously your fingers are in sync, so it should be nice and easy. Obviously that covers the advantages of it, is that obviously there's directional inputs like your D-pad, so you know what forward is, you know what down is. There's no mix up because you know what you're pressing, and your fingers are in sync. Unlike having to use your wrist or just your thumb, your fingers, your index fingers especially, they're in sync, which is why I'd say Hitbox and WASD is easy on player 1, though many people may disagree with that. Is a disadvantage on this paper? No, it's not. Another advantage for using a Hitbox or a WASD is the speed advantage. So with enough practice you can get this fast. Like I normally use this, but there's only so much speed I can get with this. There's a lot of people who can do it about twice as fast as me, but I'm not entirely fast on this. But with this, with the consistency, you can get your wave dash, your pEWGF much faster. So it's all about consistency, practice. There is definitely a speed advantage and a knowledge advantage because you know which button is which. You adapt to it much quicker. The disadvantage of using a Hitbox or a WASD, and this doesn't just apply to me, this applies to basically everyone, is I'd say the main disadvantage is that there's a lot of strain that comes with it. So obviously pressing the Hitbox several times, I can wave dash for a solid 5 minutes on stick, but when it comes to Hitbox or WASD, my fingers are going to be dead. My fingers, they're going to hurt because I'm using the main part of my hand. There are ways to overcome this, or you can rest for longer periods of times, but even then you'll find some sort of pain. The more continuously you do it, it's like imagine training your arms every day. Obviously not only is it inconsistent, it's going to hurt you a lot, and every day it'll kind of decrease in potential. My controller just died, my bad. So that wraps it up for the way to do EWGF on all the controllers. I hope that helps all you Mishima mains into getting used to EWGFs and understanding how they work, being able to execute them, and from there create or use strings and combos from EWGF, except for a few things. So that's one of the tutorials of how to do an EWGF and input it from neutral, but there are some special circumstances. For example, what is a pEWGF? Can't Jin and Kazuya enter a crouch dash from other moves that aren't the traditional FNDDF notation? Let's start with pEWGF. I can't really give a tutorial on how to do it, mainly because I don't know how to do it except on player 1 joystick or on a D-pad. Let's start with pEWGF. With pEWGF, it's simple. It's just it only works with Kazuya or for certain characters, and the issue with this is Jin and deviljin cannot do this. They do not have a 13 frame electric where you miss out the D input, you miss out the D frame. It's simple, just forward, let go, down, forwards. That is essentially a pEWGF input, and then press 2 at exact same time as down, forwards, and that gives you a pEWGF. You'll see that Jin actually does a down forward 2. Oh, the down forward 2 input on behalf of the controller. You'll see that if I do the FNDF plus 2 move, you'll see that Jin does a down forward 2, but Kazuya actually does an EWGF. That's a pEWGF. That's a 13 frame electric that Jin and deviljin don't have. Jin and deviljin will do down forward 2. Kazuya will do an EWGF. That's something to do with the Tekken people back there. They set this up for Kazuya to do a 13 frame electric from FNDF plus 2. Jin and deviljin do not have access to this at all. Obviously pEWGF is 13 frame while EWGF is 14. This gives some advantages in certain scenarios, such as blocking the 13 frame attack. The issue with learning pEWGF over EWGF, as mentioned already, is that Jin and deviljin don't have it. The FDDF plus 2 input for Jin and deviljin will give an EWGF, but that's 14 frames. Now, what's FDDF? That's also a pEWGF, essentially. They do have it, as you can see. I've done. That's a FN. Obviously, you can see I've done FDDF plus 2 in the top left corner. Deviljin and Jin, they do have an EWGF after this, but no matter what, that's 14 frames. Even if you think it's a pEWGF, that's 14 frames. Kazuya's 1 is 13, Jin's is 14, deviljin's is 14, that's by default. FNDF plus 2 or FDDF plus 2 will give a 13 frame electric. This is beneficial for a few reasons. For example, moves that are minus 13 on block can be punished by EWGF. Players will find it easier to put FDDF plus 2 at fast pace, like myself. That's just a personal preference. Some people prefer FNDF plus 2 on this side and something else on the other side, or different controllers, different ways. That's with me. This way, the Z input kind of makes sense because you are skipping the neutral and you get the electric. But again, pEWGF does not apply to Jin and deviljin, so practicing this consistently will be inconsistent for Jin and deviljin. Yes, they can FDDF plus 2, but it's 14 frames regardless, and they can't FNDF plus 2, so I'd recommend learning EWGF over anything else. The main use for pEWGF is counter hit down forward to pEWGF. Let me show you what that is. So, when you do this, you'll see that Jin kind of falls to the ground slowly. That's a counter hit down forward too. Now, hitting some sort of EWGF after this obviously does turn into a damage. You can see 42 damage, a 2-hit combo. But if you time your pEWGF at frame perfect, Jin will launch into the air as if it was a normal EWGF, and from there you can get nasty damage. From down forward 2, obviously you don't have to do EWGF because it's inconsistent. You'd have to sidestep to turn it into a combo. Or you got different options like 3-1-4 to there, whatever. I'm really struggling with the consistency of that. But if you pEWGF at the right speed, you get extra 26 damage. Basically, the scaling resets, so you can see down forward 2 gives 120%, and if you do pEWGF, that goes to 100%. Whereas with other characters in basically every other scenario, it goes from 120 to 70%. Even with Deviljin's supposed perfect EWGF from Wall Standing 3. Kazuya is special. Simple as. Let me try it. I can't promise it's going to be hard. Let's try. You'll see the damage difference. So, for example, if I do this. That's 78 damage, 79 because of the wall hit, yeah? So, now let's try and put in CHDF2 pEWGF with that. See that? 101 damage combo. That's gone from, I forgot what the damage was before, but that's definitely increased it by a significant amount. I would not recommend trying to do this in proper matches because it's going to drop your combos a lot of times. It's heavily inconsistent unless you're like next level pro, which obviously I'm not. It's taking me a solid 5 minutes to do. But if you clock it, you clock it. I've done it once in an online match before against my friend, legitimately. So it does work online before you think, oh, online is busted. So this is not easy at all. Before you hop in the practice room to try and get it, make sure you get all your EWGFs. It'll take loads and loads of practice, so don't expect to hit it anytime soon. I even struggle with it a lot. Obviously you've seen 5 minutes, but practice comes perfect. Couple more things to discuss before we end. One is that in heat, go away. You'll see that any WGF which is not an electric will instantly turn into an EWGF. This will give the properties of an EWGF, but partially does consume heat time. It also doesn't bring with the speed. Obviously, if you do this, obviously it's not as fast as this. So it does give you the EWGF properties like pushback, plus frames. Gives you the what else does it give you? It gives you the extra damage. It gives you the quicker recovery time. That's only a heat though. Applies to Jin, Deviljin, and Kazuya. So you'll see that it's giving me EWGF. It doesn't connect because I think it's on counter hit. Something to talk about is the fact that Kazuya can actually access his crouch dash from 3-1 down forwards. So 3-1, so he's X square and hold down forwards. You can see that he's actually entered his crouch dash. Now, to access WGF, you can enter the crouch dash from 3-1 and press 2. Does not allow EWGF. That's just a Kazuya thing. 3-1 down forwards, you can press 1. You can do whatever you want, that's a crouch dash. But pressing 2, and you do get a free WGF without having to practice this movement. Just 3-1 down forwards 2. That's your confirmed WGF. Let me just put it back on no counter hit. Another thing to consider is that in heat, Kazuya can also access his wind step. I forgot to say that's key charge. You can access it by holding down back and pressing 3+4 at the same time. So that's this button offset, or basically these two, X and circle. And if you do it and hold down forward like that, you can see he's actually entered his down forward, his crouch dash, but it does consume heat time. But it's useful for mix-ups. So you're in heat, you hit that, and obviously because you're in heat, it will definitely give you an EWGF. There you go. That doesn't connect, does it? So Oh, that counts as a combo. So that's the two ways Kazuya can enter his crouch dash without having to do the actual FNDDF notation. Simpler for people who want to do WGF at beginner level, very beginner level, who literally cannot do FNDDF. There's nothing wrong with not being able to do that. Practice comes perfect. I was not able to sidestep properly when I started. Okay. Another thing to consider, however, is I am now Jin, because the next list of things I'm going to talk about is only about Jin. So, in addition to this, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Kazuya can access his wing crouch dash from F and DF because his F is a misstep and his down forwards basically just enters straight into crouch dash. That's why pEWGF is possible for Kazuya and not Jin or deviljin. Jin also has methods to enter his crouch dash from particular moves. For example, his Zen stance allows you to hold down forwards to enter breaking step. So if he's in Zen and you hold down forwards, he's entered his breaking step. So you don't, obviously there's some moves where you can enter Zen in the middle of the string, and from there you can enter your Zen stance. So I'll quickly go through the methods of which you can access Zen stance into your down forwards. So not Kazuya, Jin. So if Jin's heat does get blocked, instant crouch dash, and from there you can press triangle. That's your EWHF. Heat, on hit, if you hit down back 1+2, which is basically these two I've assigned it here, instant crouch dash, and from there EWGF. It's not confirmed, as you can see. It's useful in combos. For example, if I do this, from there if you spam square, that's a free screw. That's from heat down back 1+2. If you don't do in heat, it doesn't enter crouch dash at all. Other moves, simpler strings. 2-4 forwards, that's instant Zen. 3-1F, instant Zen. Forward 4F, instant Zen. Back 3+4, it enters into a Zenshin or Zanshin. F3+4 is Zenshin, which is what the moves actually transition into. Down forward 2, holding down forwards, instant breaking step. Down forward 3-3, so click 3 quick, twice quick and hold down forward, so that's instant crouch dash. We have back 3F, like that enters Zen quickly. BF2 3F, instant Zen. While standing 1-2F, Zen. While standing 1 quick 3, hold down forwards, so like this, instant crouch dash. And his Zen 1-2 and hold down forwards, so you cannot let that 2 hit. You have to hold down forwards, so it's going to look like this. And from there you can access anything. So with Jin, unlike Kazuya, Jin can actually access his electric versions from crouch dash. So something like this, that actually allows into a electric. So that can be used for different things. I don't know if you're feeling weird. I don't know why you'd ever want to use that. But it does give straight into electric. Obviously, I think they made that easy for beginners because Jin's the main character. So, electric versions. A couple more quick things is that the FNDDF inputs for Kazuya, Deviljin and Jin, they don't just have FNDDF +2, but they have other options from the actual CD movement. So for Jin, after the FNDDF input, you can put 1, 2, 3 or 4. Can you put anything else? I'm not entirely sure. FNDDF1 is known as TU, the thrusting uppercut.
Just like EWGF, however, it has an electric version, and obviously it gives much faster reaction time. And from there you can do whatever you want. Blah 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 blah. It's rubbish combo. Don't ever use that. It's the same as ewgf. Make sure you have it at the frame perfect time, down forward +2. If you don't, it's just going to do a simple one. The properties are similar. It doesn't give pushback, but I think, is the damage higher? That's 20 damage. Yep, 2 more damage, and also recovers quicker. FND +2 is ewhf. Unlike ewgf, it gives tornado on hit, so it's going to send the enemy into instant tornado. That combo does not work in this game. FND +3 is a simple ran kick. Well, I don't even think it's in. Yeah, kind of like that. I don't know why it is 4. I guess it's good for tracking. If somebody wants to sidestep your wave dash options, just there you go. FND +4 is a health sweep. Can be followed by 2 on hit for a second confirm hit, but unfortunately there's no screw. I think they should give Jin a screw. Even if it's low damage, just give him something nice from a health sweep. Just like you did in Tekken 7. Or even if you want to, just do that. Put him into a screw and just, I don't know. Just, they kind of remove the point of a health sweep here. You're better off just, it's like a poke now. But if you want a nice 31 damage from a health sweep, there you go. Now then, Kazuya. Character selection. Okay, for Kazuya, FNDDF1 is TGF, a big uppercut. I haven't written what it stands for. It probably stands for Thunder Fist. It has decent damage and gives tornado if enemy is mid-air, for example. Oh. Time it right. It does give tornado. I don't know why you'd use that. Except if you're going from 3-1 to down forwards like this. Just simple. If you want to get the easy screw, because you can't do this for some reason, 3-1 down forward to pressing 1, nice screw. In heat, however, it does have slightly different properties. It does turn into a grab if you hold. I think it turns into a grab regardless. Yep, if you hit it, he does some sort of grab where it turns into a bit more damage, 38 damage. Doesn't give screw, obviously, it turns into a throw and the enemy's face flat on the floor. You can cancel it from doing the animation in heat by holding back. You hold back, doesn't turn into a, what's it called? Doesn't turn into a throw, and obviously that's useful if you're in heat and you get an ewgf. You don't want to end up getting a throw in the middle of a combo. There you go. And then if you're at the end, then it's useful to use it because that gives you the tiny bit of extra damage. FNDDF +2, simple ewgf. FNDDF +3 is the Hell Lancer, some long flying kick. Nice for a bit of extra damage. For example, if I do this. There you go. That's good for long range as well. I don't know. It's just a nice bit of extra damage at the top. It was very useful in Tekken 7 because his back to 1 was like a very distancing screw. FNDDF +4 is a hell sweep. Kazuya can actually access another hit from FNDDF +4. Looks like that. Low, high. Good for a bit of extra damage. Always confirmed if you get the hell sweep hit. Can also be hit by square. Good for vortex. So hit that. Yep. You again. And then they expect a low. And there you go, you've just tricked them. And then whatever wall combo if you have the wall. In heat, slightly different properties. If you do CD414, the same grab as CD1 happens. You can cancel this, obviously. by holding back, and you can see that nothing's happened. So say for some reason you do an pEWGF and you do this, just it doesn't screw. That's something I learned. It can be cancelled just as the same, and that pretty much covers everything I want to talk about with pEWGFs. No, it doesn't. I've missed out deviljin. With deviljin, his pEWGF, he normally makes the DS sound, but I put a mod on because nobody likes it. Nothing can beat that. His CD1 is similar to Kazuya, but if you hold up forwards, then it turns into that throw without the laser at the end. If you don't hold up forwards, it just does that. That's nice at all. Low slump gives extra damage. I'm not going to bother because I can't be bothered. His CD3, wait, what even is that? Oh yeah, it's that. And that can be turned into a combo, so if you get the low slump, I can't be bothered with the low slump. If you do hold 3, it's nice mix up from here. If you don't know whether, if your enemy is expecting a high, hit them with the low, and then they expect a low, hit them with the high. It's a mix up. And his health sweep doesn't knock down like it did in Tekken 7, unfortunately. But they are follow-ups, so you can press 1+2, and that's confirmed on hit. From there, the best option is this. Oh, that's for good Oki if you want to go for the max damage. How come I can't hit this today? There you go, 45 damage is probably the max confirmed damage you can get from this. On wall, it does give a nice vortex. Well, anyway, it gives a nice vortex actually. If you go for up hold 3 after this. There you go, another vortex. And then they expect a low. Hit them with the 1 again. I don't know, there's different damage options. Forget that, that's my own gameplay. And that pretty much covers everything I want to talk about with pEWGFs. I hope this was beneficial to the people who struggle with pEWGF or are overall new to the game and wanting to learn infamous Mishimas. Remember, everyone starts from day 1, so don't be put down by not being able to achieve it every time. I remember in my first couple of weeks, as I mentioned before, hitting a side step 2 and holding up. Oh, for God's sake, I can't do it now. Doing this had me crazy. Like, I felt like I was hitting pEWGF. That was when I first played. It's about patience and practice, nothing else. Don't overdo yourself, because eventually your hands will just degrade into pain and you'll be dropping loads of things. Practice is key. Make sure you get your practice in. Everybody's growth started from a seed, and that seed was found in practice mode. As usual, no matter where you plant it, you can plant it in Yakushima, it'll bring a tree. You plant it in this rock, you'll bring a tree. I don't care if there's no oxygen in space. The seed will grow. Practice room. Remember, FNDF plus 2. Just frame. Get that pEWGF. 2 needs to be inputted the same as DF. With that done, I hope everyone watching manages to understand and clock the infamous Mishima electrics very soon, so that you can use it effectively in your ranked games and hit those top tier pEWGF combos using your character. Obviously there's different combos. If you want me to make a video on that, I'll be more than willing to. With all that done, I hope you enjoyed this guide and found it useful. I keep making these bloody strips at 12 o'clock. I find it useful. Please leave a like if you did find it useful and subscribe to see similar guides. I'm willing to do guides on anything, just let me know what you want to see. I can do backdashing on, I can do Korean backdashing on D-pad if you want. Not at the moment, I'm too tired. I want to play Minecraft. No I don't. That all being said, I hope you have a great day. I hope you get your high damage combos in. I hope you've learned to pEWGF and I hope I was useful. If I wasn't useful, I can only recommend other guides that are better than mine, because there are definitely other guides better than mine. I can only recommend them. But I hope I did help you in some way, or the tips I gave you just somehow useful. Again, I hope you all have a great day, a great week. I hope you win your next 200 ranked matches by pEWGFing and spamming it because the enemy doesn't know how to. Stay well.